life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God. Well, in a world where challenges are plentiful, it's easy for us to feel discouraged. Yet with enough guidance and support, most people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. Well, beyond your fears is everything you ever dreamed of. Well, the DrSTem Show will give the voiceless a voice and the hopeless hope. And now, here she is, DrSTem.
Hello, real quick, before we get into the show, I wanted to invite you to a free 7-day manifesting challenge. Here's the thing. I believe that we all are capable and able to achieve our dreams and desires at any time, but we have to know how to be receptive, how to manifest and receive that which we are asking for. So for 7 days, I'll be sending you an audio or video for you to watch and then do the things that I say in that video. And then after 7 days, I can't wait. I'm so excited to hear what comes up for you, what you'll be able to achieve. So visit our website, www.drstemi.com and www.drstemspeaks.com. Now, let's get into the show. Well. I finally got to have all my 8 speakers, around. So I'm so excited that I am bringing to you our 8th speaker of the 3rd annual Bounce Back Empowerment Conference, Ms. Sheba Wilson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stem, for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
You're from the Turks and Caicos, right?
Yes, I'm from beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands in the Atlantic near the Caribbean Basin.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, one of the exciting things about doing this show is I'm literally traveling virtually to different countries. So I'm very excited, to have you on the show from Turks and Caicos, live from Turks and Caicos, today. So here's the thing. I invited, speakers from around the world for the 3rd annual Bounce Back Empowerment Conference. And I've been saying this in the other shows that I was intentional about selecting the speakers this year. And as soon as I thought, we need to bring the Bounce Back Empowerment Conference live to the different countries around the world, I started thinking this is the best way for me to do it, to find speakers in different countries that are intriguing, that are killing it, that are upcoming. And guess what? I go on Facebook and look what I saw, brand new book. And she is just like so glowing and she's got a brand new book on it. I said, I'm going to get this one here. So she was wearing her green on that book. And when you go to find the book, which we'll be talking about, you see that she was in green. So in honor of that brand new book, I'm wearing my green as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about that book, but let me just tell the audience a little bit about, the bio that I have, with me here. And of course, it doesn't do her justice, but what it will do is it will give us a direction of what to discuss and, who she is. Sheba Wilson is the CEO of Sheba Wilson Training Limited, a full-service corporate training, executive coaching, and leadership development company. And she it's got LEAD capital letters, HR Solutions, a human resource tech software to streamline recruitment, onboarding, employee engagement, and retention initiatives for organizations. She is a recent brand new, as I said, best-selling author. Yeah. On Amazon and international bestseller as well, with the #1 book, Get Up and Lead, which was released on August 20th, 2022. And she has co-authored Voices for Leadership along with 39 other leaders throughout the globe. Productivity, performance, profitability. Sheba is magnetic and knows how to get the best out of every person in any organization, which she does in an interactive and engaging way. I'm telling you, it was on that release day that, and I'll say, God led me to your page and see you there, because then it was one of those things that, you know what, we need to celebrate with her. And I want her to come to the Bounce Back Empowerment Conference and share with the ladies, because I could see the joy in you. So congratulations on that book.
Thank you. Thank you so much, DrSTem.
So this was your first book, right?
First solo book, yes. Just in March of this year, I co-authored the book Voices for Leadership. So I wrote a chapter in that book, and then in August I released my first solo book, Get Up and Lead.
Wow. And audience, just in case you're listening to this as well, I met her in person. So at first, when I saw her on Facebook, she was in Turks and Caicos, and I'm here in Orlando, Florida. And then we went to the same conference, the Lisa Nichols conference in California, and I got to meet her in person. So I'm so excited to have met her and call her sister. So you know what? When I tell you I got her book, at that, because then we had been communicating. I had released, one of mine, Let Your Light Shine, and she had just released this, and we both released, them this year. So I said, listen, I don't care if there's excess luggage, please bring me one of your copies signed by author so that I can have my book. And, she brought me that book. And from the minute that I got it, I couldn't put it down until I finished it. We were there at the conference, I think about 4 days. I read it every night until I finished it whilst at the conference. That's how engaging that book is. So I think, having talked about that, let's start with that book. Why should people read it? Because I don't want to be biased, because I know for me, it was life-changing because of the nuggets that you share in there.
Well, the reason why I wrote the book is really to use my own life experiences to help other people navigate adversity. We're always going to face challenges in life. All of us have a story. All of us are going through something, or coming out of something, or getting into something. And so we need to know that through those challenges, depending on the mindset that we have, we can actually grow. It can make us better. We can build resilience instead of seeing it as something that you don't want to face. So the book is really about equipping persons to be able to navigate the challenges and adversities of life with the mindset that God's got you. You have His grace. It's free, unmerited. And also that you have grit. We don't realize how strong we are and how much power we possess until we're thrust into something that requires us to actually stretch our resilience muscles. And so that's what Get Up and Lead is all about. And LEAD stands for Live Every Day Above Defeat. So yes, circumstances will arise. They may attempt to defeat you, but you are not defeated, because you have the ability to live above those circumstances and live an undefeated life.
Whoa, powerful. So it's lead above, no, it's E, every day.
Above defeat.
Above defeat, lead. So here's the thing, right? That I want to know. At the beginning of this show, I was explaining what this show is about. This show is about bringing women like yourself, right, who are encouraging, inspiring, empowering, and leading the way. And leading the way in many aspects, whether it's in our personal, but also in our professional lives. So I want to go back to the young Sheba. If I were to ask you what memory comes to mind that brings out this fiery, young Sheba that is now like, you know what? I'm not going to stay down. I'm going to get back up. What memory comes to mind?
I think the memory that most, that I think of most when I think of the woman I am today is the memory of being this shy, reserved girl who didn't know she had a voice, who allowed weight physically, because I struggled with my weight from 10 years old into adulthood. And so allowing the weight to define me as a girl, and dealing with bullying and being, or having a lack, I guess, of awareness of self and who I really was. And when I look back on my life and I see that I was that shy, reserved girl, and now today I'm using my voice to empower other women and to let them know that, look, if you don't like something, you have the power to rewrite that, right? So if there's something about you that you're not satisfied with, don't hate yourself, don't beat yourself up about that, but determine what it is that you desire for yourself, and then map out a plan to help you get there. And so I look back at the young Sheba that didn't have the confidence that I have today, that came from very humble beginnings, that didn't have my father present in my life until I was a teenager. And all of those things, as difficult as they were back then, they shaped me. They molded me and helped me to become the woman that I am today. And that's what life is, you know, the challenges, the bricks that are thrown at us, all of the things that we have to go through and encounter from childhood into adulthood. We are able to use those things to help to transform us and propel us to our destiny, really. And so that's where I was. It had a lot to do with who I am and who I continue to become.
Thank you for that. And I know that you also mentioned that one of the things that one of the things that drove you to write the book. You said one of the things that helped you to write the book was some of the challenges that you faced in life. Can you share some of those challenges that drove you to that point where you said, you know what, I need to write about this because this is, the bottom?
So the book begins with a very personal story about loss. In a very short period of time, I lost very important persons to me. So in 2011, I lost my father, who, like I said, wasn't a part of my formative years. It wasn't until I was in my last year of high school, really, that my father re-entered my life. And that's when we began to build a relationship. And then I lost him in 2011. And, that was painful because we were just beginning to have the type of relationship that a girl needs. So I went through a period of healing that young girl because I finally had the relationship with my father, and then I lost him. And then shortly after that, in 2015, I lost my best friend of 20 plus years. And unexpectedly, she went in for a routine procedure, was supposed to be released from the hospital. I spoke to her the night before, and the next day, that morning, she passed away. So I lost her. And 2 months later, I lost my husband to stage 4 prostate cancer. So in the span of 4 years, I lost the 3 people that were really close to me. And the pain of losing my best friend and then going right into that period of having to bury my husband, that was very difficult and trying for me, because when you're going through illness and being caregiver to a spouse, you need a support system. And my best friend was the person that I would go to with everything, and I didn't have her. And I remember having to do the as I knew her at her funeral, and my husband was in the hospital, and I wasn't sure if I would make it to her funeral, but I did. And I was able to deliver the as I knew her at her funeral. And just thinking about it now, I don't even know where I got the strength from to be able to stand and deliver that, while also dealing with the fact that my husband was battling for his life in the hospital. And so my book starts off basically recounting loss that's very personal in nature for me. But it doesn't stop there, because as difficult as that was, so much has transpired over the last 7 years. I consider the last 7 years to be transformative. I have experienced immense personal and professional growth, and I couldn't have imagined in the moments that I was dealing with the loss and the grief that I would be at this place where I'm able to speak about it and to tell people that, hey, you can overcome this, because it didn't feel like I would be able to get over it in those moments. But God's grace is truly sufficient. And each day he does give us just the portion of grace that we need to get through that particular day. And so I just want to share something with listeners. As you go through life, even the most painful experiences, make time to pause, to reflect, to journal, because it's so important for us to be able to go back and to see the progress that we've made. So I always try to carve out some personal time for myself where I'm able to look back and see where I've been, what I've gone through, what emotions I felt in those moments, what helped me to get through those moments. I would not have been able to write this book without having journaled. Journaling really captured all of those moments for me. I didn't know it at the time that I would have to write this book and use that information, but I journaled because it was so therapeutic, right? It helped me to heal. It was a part of my grieving process, writing prayers to God, being able to write my raw emotions, because I had no one to talk to. I had no one who I felt like understood what I was carrying. And so journaling became my therapy of sorts. Right. And so I encourage persons to journal. Even when I'm coaching, I encourage people to have reflection time, to make that a part of your day, so that you're able to document what you're facing, how you plan to navigate that. And then you go back and you look at what worked, what didn't, and what you can now course correct so that you're able to learn and grow through the experience.
You're talking my language, because when it comes to journaling, that's my language. I love reminding people that writing it down is very therapeutic, because it takes it from, our minds, our heads, our hearts onto the paper. And then from that, it's amazing how you empty yourself and open yourself to new information that will help you, move forward. So thank you for sharing that, information. And as you were explaining, it's even difficult to imagine one person going through such adversity back to back to back to back. It's just hard. But then when you start talking about the transformation that also comes with that, difficult moment and difficult times, it's also encouraging and uplifting that sometimes we need to be open to that adversity, because it's bringing out something that God is working through you, that you would need to help the next person or to move into the next life. So my next question is, do you have children?
Yes, I have 4 children. I have 3 daughters and 1 son, Ariana, Gabriella, Alyssa, and Caden. And they were quite young when I lost my husband. As a matter of fact, my son, Caden, he was less than 2 years old. So he really didn't have any time with his father. So, and he is just now asking questions, right? The girls early on, they had lots of questions, and they went through their period of grieving where they wanted me to answer questions. But for him, he was too young. And so what I'm finding is now, especially last month, and we've had some tough conversations in the last 2 months. Last month was Cancer Awareness Month, and he's in grade 4. And so, he now understands illness, and there's all this promotion surrounding breast cancer awareness during October. And so one Sunday we went to lunch, and he asked me, if my father was here, what would our family be? And I was taken aback by the question because he hadn't asked anything in forever. And he asked that question, and I responded, and I said, we would still be a family, but your dad would be a part of that family. And so I said to him, you asked that question, it means that you've been thinking. And he said to me, yes, this month I've been thinking a lot about my dad. And then he paused and he said, and he didn't say anything. He paused again, and I said, and what? He said, cancer. And so I took that opportunity to say to him, cancer is such a dreaded disease. I really don't wish it on anyone, but we live in a world where illness is a part of our lives, and sometimes persons have to navigate illness, right? And so I talked to him about the importance of taking good care of ourselves, and watching what we eat and our exercise habits, and also managing our stress, because many times we end up not managing our emotions, our stress. We have unforgiveness, unresolved issues, and it manifests in our bodies as illness. And so I took that time to have that conversation with him so he understands, because I truly believe that has a part to play in the prevalence of cancer that we're seeing globally.
Interesting. And I would figure that, and I would figure that, as a mom, one of the challenges, that you've had is most likely, dealing with grief and parenting as a single parent as well.
Yeah, it has been quite challenging. And for me, I'm grateful for my mother. I am so grateful for her, because I don't know that I would be able to do what I do without her. And fortunately for me, she's retiring in February. So she would have even more time to spend with the children. But when I have to travel, when I have to work, or have a meeting during pickup time, she's the person that steps in, and she would pick up the kids, or she would take them on a weekend if I have a busy weekend, or if I have to travel there with her. I would not be able to do what I do if I didn't have my mom. And I am so thankful to have her. And I don't let an opportunity pass without letting her know just how much she means to me, because having a support system is very important, but it's even more important when you're a single parent and a busy professional, right? Because it's so demanding, and you have to make sure that your children are prioritized and that they're taken care of, and that requires you having some help. I also have my sister Lana, who is also always there for me. She doesn't have children of her own, but she's an excellent aunt. And I just appreciate her and the love and the support that I get from both my mom and my sister in helping me to raise my children.
Thank you for that. And you know what? You talk about forgiveness. And as I was researching some topics that we need to talk about for this show, forgiveness came up for a lot of women, saying that it's one of those topics that they struggle with, forgiveness. Have you had any struggles with forgiveness? And if so, what have you been able to do?
Yes, I think for me, I'm quite forgiving. Sometimes maybe it's to a fault, I don't know. I don't really hold on to things for very long, but I'm very outspoken. So usually if something bothers me, my approach is to have a conversation about it with the person directly. Now, I know that everyone is not, going to take that approach, or maybe it doesn't come naturally to them to take that approach. I'll go back to my husband. He had a very traumatic experience with one of his friends who betrayed him, and he struggled he struggled to get over that and to come to a place where he forgave him for what was done. And it wasn't until he was diagnosed with cancer that he then made that phone call, had that conversation, and forgave. And I think on that a lot of times, and I think, what if he had handled it differently? What if he had that conversation early on and resolved that issue and not carried that trauma and emotion for so long? Maybe the outcome would have been different. And so I always say to people, you're not forgiving for the person, really. You're forgiving for you. It's a part of your healing. And so when you look at it that way, how much more important is it for you to then release that, to forgive that person, so that you're not carrying around the weight of unforgiveness and hurt and not healing from that, because it's doing more damage to you as the individual than it's doing to the person, because sometimes they don't even realize the level of hurt that transpired. They may not even realize the part that they played in hurting you because you have not had the conversation. And so you're damaging yourself, damaging your health, your emotional well-being by not having those conversations and releasing that. So it's important for you to do that for you. Even if you can't, even if you think the person doesn't deserve forgiveness, you deserve to heal from the hurt. And the only way for you to do that would be to process that, to have the conversation, to release it, to forgive them, even if that means doing that without them ever acknowledging that they did something wrong, because it's important for your well-being.
That, my fellow listeners, is part of personal development. And when we're talking about personal development, what you just heard her say is it's an all-round thing that we have to care about our mental, physical, spiritual well-being. And that, makes self-care. So without self-care, we will not be able to be successful in our professional lives or even in business. So with that, I'm going to switch the gears a little bit and go into the professional and business development, because I know you're big, in the business development. So let's talk a little bit about your business or your work that you do.
Yeah, so I wear many hats. So I'll talk about both what I do in corporate as well as what I do through my company. So I work with Grace Bay Resorts, which is a hotel company, a luxury hotel company in Turks and Caicos. We have 5 properties that we either own or manage, and a private villa collection. So those are private homes that we manage for owners. And I am responsible for all of the staff for all of those properties. So I'm the group director of human resources. We have about 700 employees spread across those properties. I am a C-suite executive, so I sit at the strategic planning decision-making level and oversee an HR department of 11 persons and growing. So that's my full-time role. And then I also have my company that offers leadership development and training, Sheba Wilson Training Limited. And so a lot of persons who follow me on social media will see that I'm quite active doing workshops, group coaching. I love to use science, especially as it relates to personalities and communication. And so I offer a number of ways where my clients can have that on their team. So I'm a Telexis Alliance partner, where we do 360-degree surveys, personality assessments, right fitting for roles in organizations. In addition to that, looking at your current makeup of staffing and determining what their skills are and where they're best suited. So if you're looking to do succession planning and you want to know who's on your team and what skills do I have on my team to help me to map out a plan for how I grow the organization, Those tools are available through my company. In addition to that, I'm a DISC certified trainer as well as consultant. So those are some of the offerings. And then because I'm an HR professional, I also ventured into HR tech, because anything that makes streamlining recruitment possible for me makes my staff job a lot easier. And so I decided, I need to figure out a way to make this process work as smoothly as possible with minimum paper, make it easy for the candidates to find us and find our job postings, and have a one-stop shop for them to actually apply, so that they're not all over the place. And then we're able to use that to shortlist candidates to see who has applied, what skills, how do we determine who goes on to the next round. And so I worked with a friend of mine who happens to be in tech, and together we came up with She Lead HR Solutions, which we offer to our clients. Grace Bay Resorts was our very first client, of course. They're always supportive of anything that I do. So I'm grateful for them. And we continue to offer that service internationally, not just here in Turks and Caicos, but internationally, to clients who are looking to streamline their recruitment, employee engagement, and onboarding processes. So that's that. And in addition to that, I'm an inspirational speaker. So numerous speaking engagements. I believe that I'm called to serve humanity. And I always knew, even from a young age, that I have the spiritual gift of helps. I always try to, if there's a problem, I find a solution. I find a way to step in and assist. And so that has always been me. And I love to be able to be in a position to pour into the lives of other people, to add value to other people. I recently said to someone that I became what I didn't have. I wished so desperately that I had a woman who was accessible to me, that could have guided me through so many situations. And so now that I'm empowered and in a position to make that difference and to be that to someone else, I don't let an opportunity go by where I am able to either add value to someone, to pour into someone, to mentor someone. And so I'll take this opportunity to also say that I volunteer my time with our youth center here in Turks and Caicos, the Atwood Gartland Youth Center. I facilitate the girls club there. Lovely little ladies, and just watching their transformation, seeing myself in them. You come into each school year, you go in and you see this group of persons that are so shy and reserved and don't have a voice. And by the time you're done, you see these bright and confident little ladies who are not afraid to express themselves, who are more self-aware than ever before, who have emotional intelligence and who can hold a conversation. And just to know that you had a small part to play in making that difference in their lives just makes it all worth the time and the effort that it takes to do that. So that's me on the people development side.
Wow. As you were explaining all of this, right? I'm envisioning a person who's trying to juggle all this going on. Like, how do you handle all of that? Because that was a plateful.
Yes, it is quite a lot, right? So managing time, my calendar is my friend. I always say, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. And I try, and I'm still struggling with this. I love to be transparent with people, right? Sometimes I say yes too many times. So that's my biggest challenge, really being realistic about how much you can take on at any given time. And sometimes I feel guilty if I have to say no, but I shouldn't feel guilty because I'm one person and I only have so many hours in a day. So I'm constantly having that conversation with myself that manage your time. You can only do so much. Sometimes you're going to have to say no to some things, and that is okay. It's okay to have to say no. So that's a work in progress for me. But I've gotten better at it over the years, but I'm still working on it. In addition to that, I would also say, choosing things that align with your values, making sure that you say yes to the things that set your soul on fire, that align with who you are and what you believe in. Because when you serve, in order for you to serve well, it has to be something that is also going to be fulfilling for you. And so making sure that I always do that litmus test to determine, does this align? Is it the best use of my time? Because you can't give to everything and everyone, but you want to make sure that who you're serving is actually the audience that you're called to serve, and that you are adding value to the people that will benefit the most from you serving in that way.
Yes, yes, yes. I love the choose the things that align with you. Choose the things that align with you. Because when we choose the things that align with us, it's not work anymore. It's almost like play. So as much as I'm seeing all these, going up, but it's almost like play because it's nothing to you, because you love doing what you do and also enjoy doing the things that you're doing. So I applaud you for having the courage to get back up and show up so that you can impact the many lives that you are impacting, right now. So just a word of advice, if you having, another challenging moment to say no, remember these 4 young lives that you brought to earth and also these young girls that you're impacting. When you say no to that one situation, you've said yes to being present for a long, long, long time with them, because that's preserving your energy and it's preserving your life. Because as women, it's really tough for us to say no, because then we don't want to disappoint. But what we're realizing is we need to be around, we need to be healthy, and we need to be present for a longer period of time. And if we don't say no, that means we are, putting ourselves at risk for many illnesses and maybe even the possibility of sadly not being around for a long time. So I applaud you. I applaud you for what you're doing.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that advice. I love that. Thank you very much.
Yes, because when you think of it that way, it becomes easier to say, okay, do I want to choose saying yes to you or saying yes to my children and yes to being around these girls? I'm going to choose the other one. No, ma'am. Sorry, sir. I can't do it today. Sorry. Right? So it becomes much, much, much easier. So another question, before we leave, because I know that our time is running out. One of the other questions that I wanted to know is the word fear. When I mention the word fear, what comes up for you?
There's this acronym about fear, false evidence appearing real. When I think about fear, I pause and I ask myself some questions. If I were to do this, what's the worst that could happen? And if the worst were to happen, can I rebound from it? And if the answer to that is yes, I can rebound from it, then I'll step out, even if it's stepping out in fear. Because most times the things that we fear, we're really feeding a fear and creating it because it doesn't really exist, right? It's like your mind almost playing tricks on you. So you really have to feel the fear, feel the emotion of the fear, process it, and do it anyway, right? Because on the other side of the fear, if you take action, most times it turns out so wonderfully. Like, don't allow fear to cripple you, because that's what it really does. Fear freezes you. It causes you to stay stuck and stagnant, and you're not even sure why. So I try to process it. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? If I were to go ahead and do this, what's the worst that can happen? And if the worst happens, if I'm able to overcome that, well, I'll have to find out if I'm going to fear, the fear is real, because if I can overcome it, then I'm going to go for it.
I couldn't have ended I couldn't have ended this show in a better word, because I think the way that you said it really it summarizes who you are and the work that you do. So I don't want to, overshadow that information that you have. Once again, this is Miss Sheba Wilson. She is one of our guest speakers at the third annual Bounce Back Empowerment Conference, which is December 17th, 2022. And guess what, you all? She is going to be talking about daring despite disruption. Now that you know her story, you've heard her story, you can only imagine what daring despite disruption is all about. And what I like about her story is that she is reminding all of us that no matter where you are, no matter how you grew up, no matter who you were and who laughed at you, who bullied you, it is possible to be as big as she is or even bigger. You heard the things that she's doing. So do visit her website and see the many, many works that she is doing. Hire her for your human resources. And if you have employees that you want to assess, leaderships that you want trainings, she is available for you for that. But mostly she's also available as a speaker, motivational speaker and encourager. And remember, she is a brand new, author who is killing it on Amazon. So do go and get her book on Amazon. And the title of that book again?
Get Up and Lead. Get Up and Lead. And remember, LEAD stands for Live Every Day Above Defeat.
With that, as I always say, this is DrSTem. Be encouraged.